Hello, it's that time of the week where usually I would do my news update, but you voted for something a little different, where you wanted me to go over how I feel about the current state of VR based on recent events. I need to get this off my chest, I need to share my thoughts. I will of course be sharing some news stories though at the start of this video, just some quick fire news stories because there's some interesting bits there, and of course that's the tradition of a weekend video. Please join the Discord to win some prizes. I've got tons of giveaways and you can come and chinwag with me, but for now, that is enough chinwagging. Let's get started. And first is David Heaney of Upload VR started ranting about a silly little feature on the Quest where it doesn't download updates and install the content. You may have noticed that this occurs when your headset is in standby mode. The phone will say ready to install, which he rightly mentioned, it doesn't mean that it's ready to install. It actually means you need to download it and install it. Many times I've avoided playing a game where I've put on my headset, I've gone to play something and it's gone, oh, you had an update pending. Nope, screw this, I'm playing something else. Then BozTank Andrew Bosworth came in on his tweet and just said V49. So a new feature of version 49 is automated updates and installations when the headset is going to be in standby mode. Hopefully. Of course not confirmed, but he said it's coming anyway. We also have a new game, a text-based title from the 70s being reimagined for virtual reality. This is exactly what I love about VR, being able to enjoy the world and live in something that was a text-based experience from the 70s. What a great medium. This is an action-adventure title, and I don't know what to expect here because the trailer doesn't give much away around gameplay. And this was a text adventure, but they have said it's an action adventure experience, so I do expect some combat and some high energy at points. And if it's anything like the original, there should be tons of replayability where you want to explore the caverns, the dungeons, and find out what else is hiding in there. We also have Zelda in VR. This is the first original 2D experience of Zelda being able to be played in VR. It's taking advantage of the Doom engine that's been modded by Team Beef, and this is a mod from D12. So in collaboration, they work together and you can enjoy Zelda in VR. So if you go to ModDB, you can download Legend of Doom, which is then launched and run by the Quest Z launcher. That way you can experience it in VR, and I'll leave a link to the mods down below in the description. And the last quick story before diving into the state of VR discussion, you can now sync your Android and Quest fitness data. Before it was an Apple exclusive, and now you can sync your data through an app called Google Connect. This is the app you have to use. There are many apps that use to track data on the Android phone, so what you have to do is enable app sync in the Oculus Move application on your phone and then give permissions for Google Connect to write to it. 2023, new year, new me, more fitness stats for Meta. So moving on to the discussion, the rant, the state of VR, whatever you want to call it, the trigger for this video that brought up so much frustration for myself, but also brought up a lot of hope, was seeing videos of the PlayStation VR 2 popping up that was demoed at CES, and then the release of Grid Legends. Grid is a AAA racing port, a game that released in 2022, and I think I speak for most people when I say we were excited to get this kind of experience on the Quest. And this is one of the first topics. The big VR ports to Quest are few and far between, yet so many of us VR gamers are passionate about VR mods that are released. They allow us to play franchises that we know and love, much like Praydog's library of Resident Evil titles. What a fantastic mod and experience that now is. It makes sense to appeal to those with bank accounts, those who grew up with these games, these worlds, and these stories. Yet if I go to the Oculus store and I start scanning through the experiences looking for non-VR franchises or ports to the system over the last year, there's but a few. Now, I saw Grid, I saw NFL, Final Space, and Nerf, and only one of those is a gaming franchise. And now I'm going to be talking about Grid, but the same themes can be applied to other releases. This isn't the first time this sort of thing happened. Grid was a disappointment, and it highlights an issue at the top level. From its controls to its visuals, no support for plugging in a steering wheel, which is still beyond my understanding. It's a VR racing game. That seems like a must requirement. This release was evidently just there for a quick buck from EA to make some money and test out the market, as there was no marketing, which would have cost a lot of money to do. There was no hype or build up, it just appeared in the ether. Plus, they knew the game was bad as early access was denied, and that is Often a sign of a game is not going to be that great, so they don't want people sharing reviews before people can actually buy the experience. But they still went ahead with the release without implementing the fundamentals like spatial audio.
I realised the spatial audio was off and I couldn't actually turn it on in the options.
What I'm trying to get at is at the top level, they do not value this platform like we do. They don't have the love, they don't have the passion, they don't have the understanding, they don't have the tools. So maybe start licensing passionate VR studios rather than attempting to drop these titles yourself. And this has highlighted another problem in VR and why we don't get the franchise support that we want, the big titles very often, or the ports that we want. And just to be clear, I do move on to more positive topics. This is just, you know, the foundation of the rant. So no surprise at this point, Quest is king in the VR space, with 41% of Steam VR users being Quest 2 owners, plus the number of headsets that do not connect via gaming PCs and operate as standalone only. There are just many Quests out there in the wild. Grid released as a Quest only supported title, as they are the dominant market, but with no PC VR option, where it would look the way it deserves. It's clear that big publishers like Activision, EA are weary about creating for this space and keeping costs low, which again supports my comment about licensing above. Or they should get funding from VR Corps, like Sony funds tons of VR experiences, and look how the games are on that platform, they're amazing. Meta is not doing enough of that. And what ends up happening is they see our reactions, our reviews, the low purchase stats for these sorts of games that are just cash grabs and terrible, and they think we don't like these experiences. We don't want those experiences. There's no motivation for them to do such a thing again, and I see this continuing for a long time in the standalone or PC VR space, and looks to be a symptom of the Quest VR regression. But I do hope this can change in the future as more hardware comes out, but the reality is that mobile chipsets are never going to be at the standard as a dedicated gaming PC. So I used to back the Quest when it was first released, saying it's the new baseline. We had to take a few steps back so we can progress further in the VR space, but I feel that's kind of been stagnant. It's very evident that in some degree PC VR has suffered due to the release of the Quest, whether that be no support on large releases because they're focusing on a smaller market, or reduced PC VR quality because they were trying to develop something that caters for both platforms. And then people are using a £300 headset via a USB cable or wirelessly, and they experience lots of compression when compared to a DisplayPort connection. And wireless is winning here. I am seeing improvement here, but it's not there yet. I do believe in wireless. It is a completely different experience, but I'm just talking about the state of it right now. I hope Quest 3 comes along with a DisplayPort connection as well, and Wi-Fi 6E support. And hopefully the new chipset leads to better decoding on the wireless experiences as well. I can't deny the adoption of VR due to the Quest headset though, it's just gone through the roof, but we need software funding. After Quest 3, when we get pancake lenses, hopefully an upgraded chip, you can bring the games. It feels like game developers outside of the VR space are just too far removed to understand the wants and the needs and the passion of this community and what makes VR great. I'm always thinking of great games and then realize, wait, this was released like in 2016, or I played this on the PlayStation VR, which was terrible hardware, and yet they feel like more immersive and even better experience than what we're getting peddled out frequently now. Although I have to be aware nostalgia is in the mix there when I think back at those times. But the point is there was great success with brilliant software and bad hardware, and yet we've done this flip where we keep pushing hardware and not the software. This community, you guys, myself, we're so passionate and believe in virtual reality. We have some sort of vision of what it could be in the future, which is maybe why our reaction to these downfalls is just a bit more impactful and meaningful to us, where some people would just brush it off. It just feels a bit more brutal inside for myself. But there is hope along the way. There is a middle ground that seems to be attracting the attention of more and more VR veterans that provides well-loved franchises, understands how to create VR games, and is reasonably priced to provide the power of a PC. And what I like about this is that this competitor is focused on the games, not the current monopoly that is Meta in this space that is clearly focused on not feeding the community that lifted it up to where it is now because of the great immersive experiences that we love in virtual reality, instead pushing a vision of productivity. And I think the power of VR lies in social escapism. It's the power of AR that lives and exists in productivity. So the PlayStation VR 2 and the PS5, if you don't own one, will set you you back around £1,000. And with that, you get very modern VR tech features like eye tracking, headset haptics, and a high-end machine to pump out great visuals. The equivalent on PC to be able to do the high-end experiences on the platform, you're looking at £400 for the Quest headset alone, and then at least £1,500 if you're trying to build a custom PC these days that should be able to handle some of the best games out there. And of course, I am aware if you get a second-hand PC, it will be much cheaper. And on release, seeing games like Call of the Mountain from Horizon and Resident Evil 8 being accessible to so many more people at a much lower price with much better visuals and just as good technology, and in some regards even better, and Sony's history of dropping great VR experiences, they understand gamers. I feel I will see a lot of people start to move over to that platform where the gamers will feel appreciated and cared for, and we may see even more spread of VR gamers, of which there aren't that many to begin with, which in turn could have more problems for big companies to invest in VR, great big games, unless you're thinking of releasing on all platforms, assuming we don't get a new influx of steady players because of this headset. It all just has me cautious and speculating about the future. I don't know what's to come. Who knows, we might end up seeing a flip between the meta monopoly and then Sony becoming a more of an even market share. So I can't wait for Sony to drop the headset, show more casual gamers what's great about VR, just like they did the first time around, but this time VR has come such a long way and hopefully inspire them to become part of this community. So a big thank you for the modding community. You guys have been the saving graces on so many occasions, bringing some of the best VR experiences yet, and you're doing it for Patreon donations, for the love of the community, and doing a better job than those who are trying to make large profits, and it's just baffling to me. I don't get why they don't just hire you and enable you to create better mods for that game. Instead, they just hide, keep quiet, ban people. It just baffles me. So VR over the next year, unless software is dropping, I think Quest is going to lose some of its market share, and it may see a continued low customer base issue, which in turn will result in games being lacking once more. So please, Zuck, you've got the power here to invest in studios. Don't just buy them up so you own them. Have them push out great games, test those games, don't release crap. What happened to the quality first policy that you were pushing? So thank you guys, that's it from me today. I could talk forever and ever about this and rant on a lot more, but I won't do that to you. That was just my opinion, my gist, my thoughts in the small scope of recent events. Please consider subscribing for more content, join my Discord, I've got giveaways, and hopefully I'll see you Monday for the stream of Breaches on PC VR. Have a great week guys, happy gaming. Good day!